Well, I mean, nobody's really gonna sit there and be honest in everything that they, it's
right.
like, like commercials are gonna say, hey, look at this. This is all the cool stuff that you could do. They're not gonna, well, this is all the bad shit that they could do too.
Right.
I mean, I guess,
Well, people like I don't even know if they're being dishonest on purpose, but like sometimes when they use a definition of a word, they don't really understand where they're coming from, and then if they do, or where the word's coming from, like for instance, like capitalism, because that's one we run into on social media all the time. And welcome to Sideshow number 15. We're in the middle of a little conversation here. I'm Johnny Doe, and this is
Aaron Danger.
There you go. But yeah, I mean, so like with capitalism, right? People define it like as corporatism generally. When I've run into people, because they're always saying this corporation, that corporation, and it's like, well, we're not. I mean, corporation is defined by law. It's not completely free market, right? It's statism. I mean, I'm trying to think of the nice way of saying it, but it's statism. And you notice how people get all butthurt when you say statist.
Oh, dude, they get really like, what's that supposed to mean?
If
like,
you believe in the state, which is government, statism, then you are a statist. It's not necessarily an FU.
No.
I mean, you can use it in that context. I mean, yeah.
If the boot fits.
Yeah, sure. But like if you believe in any kind of government, I mean, you're definitely you're a statist. Like that's what the definition of statist is.
Yeah. I mean, if you want them, to uphold this law for you and all that other stuff, I mean, if you believe that they have the power over you, in
they
order
being
to do
the state,
stuff,
yes,
then you're a statist.
Yep. It's pretty simple. But yeah, with the whole concept of the whole capitalism thing, it's just, to me, it's freaking crazy. I always run into that. People just always, well, what if a corporation does blah, blah, blah? It's like, well, and that's not in a free market. A corporation doesn't exist. Now you're talking big business, that's different. And it's funny because like every single one of the people that I run into online that says stuff like that, they don't really watch the show. And then I've had a few times where I've had some of them like literally be like, well, I don't watch the show, but blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, the social media platform that you're arguing this on is for the show.
Yeah.
So what do you...
So why are you here?
Yeah.
If you didn't watch the show, it's
yeah.
like...
I mean...
it's like going to like that book club and you didn't read the book and you're still there to criticize it and you're like,
yeah,
dude, but you didn't even read the book.
That's a great example, Aaron. Thank you. I like that one.
No, I mean, it's the simplest one. It's like, dude, I mean... You're like Donnie on The Big Lebowski, and you're like, "Oh, what's going on?" It's
you're
like,
out of your fucking
element, dude. Get the fuck back in your box.
Right, and if you don't understand those definitions of those words, just take a minute. It was funny. I was talking to my dad. Shout out to Terry. I was talking to him, and he was saying like, yeah, because he's not even on. He's more of a minarchist, minimal government guy, and that's fine. I'm not anyone that's kind of close to the edge of freedom. That's where I'm an ally with you. I'm not one of those.
You're cool.
I'm not someone that's gonna go fuck libertarians or fuck ANCAPs or fuck minarchist or fuck objectivist or fuck whatever. I'm not that guy. I don't. If you're leaning towards, or even a true conservative, like a real true conservative, not a Republican, I'm more on their side. Like that's cool. Like I don't agree with half the crap that they all believe, but they lean more towards gun rights, freedom of speech, like all these different things that we believe in the free market. I'm down with that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't think that's I don't know. I'm ranting. You have anything to add on that whole little thing? I mean, about like, do you have people ever do that to you with the capitalism and free market kind of stuff, argue?
Well, somebody tried to argue about the whole free market thing, and they're like, oh, it's bad. I was like, why do you think it's bad?
Yeah,
well, because it is, and so...
do you remember any examples they gave you?
Honestly, I do not. I run through this, but I was watching that video that I sent about the Green Beret debunks socialist healthcare.
Oh, okay, I didn't get to watch that one, but I know I saw.
I mean, it was really good how he talks about how
I got to watch half of it. I'm sorry, I did watch half. It's a short one. It's like a 2-minute thing. I watched like half of it, and I was like, this is fucking awesome. Oh, I thanked you for it even too. I was like, that was great.
And then he's talking about how the free market and how if I'm trained, to do all this life-saving stuff and I go overseas and I could do it. If I come here and it's like you need stitches, you know what I mean? And
$50.
$50, and it's like you can't do that because the government has to be involved because it's for your safety. But it just seems to me like it's like the whole, it reminded me of the whole like gangster thing, you know what I mean, where the guy gets shot up and it's like he goes to the black market doctor.
Yeah.
And that's what I think the whole, I think what people are thinking, that's what all the free market is.
And here's the thing. So
Yeah. You're getting hooked up.
I knew you were going to be like, yeah.
Yeah.
But like, here's the thing. When you have government that's setting the parameter, right, then you can't experiment and do, which is freedom. You can't experiment and do all these things. Freedom is not pretty, especially in the short term. I believe in the long term it would be, but I don't think in the short term it would be, especially if it was just a complete, like, cutoff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that would be a nightmare. You going from statism to nothing, yeah, it would be chaos.
Oh, yeah.
Not anarchy, it'd be chaos.
Oh, what do I do?
And then out of the ashes would probably rise a private, you know what I mean, that whole thing. Or a state or something would take over it. But what we want is ideally is our utopian idea is we would want, ooh, got a little burp in there. We would want to have that whole, the free market interactions, you know what I mean? And it's like freedom, the word that's in our title, freedom first, right? We have been nothing but true to the title of our own show, right? Like, people are always arguing from the statist perspective of, well, how do we do this? What do we? These are 1, 2, 3 ABC questions. We're not like we should be talking about just the philosophy, but whenever you start talking about the philosophy of it, they go right back and resort back into the questions
Because you're making them think.
Oh well, no, yeah, or they're not even thinking about it. They're just like, okay, well, like I've had numerous people go, you said this, this, and this. I'm like, well, that's the answer to your question. Like, I just told you what the answer is. Oh, well, you didn't. I've had that happen to me today, too. He's like, I asked you a question 2 times. I'm like, I literally said, I feel like I answered your question.
2
Ask
times.
again. And she's like, or what do you call it? I asked you 2 times. I'm like, once again, the floor is yours. Ask the question. And it was just like nothing. And then she replied to, Jamie dealt with the whole thing after that. But it was just like, I answered every question she asked. It's there to read. It's not like that.
So I'll Jimmy handle my lightweight.
Yeah. Well, I didn't say that, but I mean, like, it was just like I'm not gonna waste all we're gonna sit here all day and argue under a picture or a story about like everything. And if you want a question asked, answer. If you want a question asked honestly and everything, and the person answers it, and it's not to your liking, that's your problem, not mine. Like, I answered it. You know what I mean? Like, if you have a question, like. I asked questions of you or the other person, and it was like they didn't answer my questions. And I had another person earlier today, too. I also had on a private message thing go back and forth, and I asked him 3 questions. I was telling you a little bit about it, but I asked him 3 questions, and he disagreed with a lot of things, and it was all the answers on his end were regarding Waco and Ruby Ridge.
Oh.
They were all on the end of statism, like how do we control this, how do we do that? And I'm just sitting here thinking, like, this is simple shit, bro. This is ABCs, man. You got to figure out what self-ownership is, property rights, non-aggression principle, voluntarism, individualism. If you find out what those things are and you use all those together, because they all work together. There's no, like, contradictions. You've gone through this.
Honestly, there's not. I mean, if you get one, all the other ones fall
into place, yeah.
And it's really simple.
Right. It's so simple.
But yeah, it's so simple.
Yeah,
but
right.
You can't do it.
Right? Yeah.
I mean, what the hell?
And then once you figure that out, even if you don't agree with what we're saying, right, you still can understand where we're coming from these 5 principles, right? And then, technically it's probably less than that. Realistically, it's probably more like voluntarism and the non-aggression principle. I mean, if you wanted to simplify, it's self-ownership, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It should be those 3 things, and then individualism and property rights all bounce off those things, and the free market. Obviously, too. It all goes together. Oh, and getting back to that. Oh, so anyway, I just got like 2 different things. So, anyways, he asked me a bunch of questions. I answered them all. They were not to his liking because, well, what about the kids? Or what about this? Or what about? It's like, well, we can't do anything about that. And wait, when this all happened, who is in control? The state? Last time I checked, the state has been in control. So all these bad things have happened when everyone asks these questions. Bad things happen all the time under the state. Under freedom, you're going to have bad things happen too. You know what I mean? Like,
so
I don't understand.
Just try freedom.
Right. Because the difference is we won't have a state coercing us or pointing a gun at us to make us do something, right?
So these people are actually so brainwashed to where they actually need somebody to tell them what to do now.
I honestly think that it is a form of brainwashing, but like you said, I think it was you actually were saying the conditioning is more what it is. It's more that they've been conditioned, and it is a form of that, but I think it's more just it's not teaching people how to independently think. And so in that way, they're teaching everyone to memorize tests and You know what I mean? So just memorize what you say. How many times do you hear in gun culture them saying, all you got to do is rack the goddamn chamber of a shotgun. That'll scare anyone off. Get the fuck out of here. Rather have one in my fucking chamber and my mag topped off. Like, that's just stupid. Yeah. That's teaching people stupid shit. Those split seconds to cock your shotgun, that get your ass killed. So it's like one of those things, right?
I mean, that's all that movie shit, too, where it's like, oh, it sounds so badass, and it scares them. People are like, oh, it's
or
gotta
every
work
time
in the
when
movie.
they go dry, it goes click, click, click. I've never heard a gun do that before. Like, it's just click. That's it. One time, not a click, click, click.
Yeah, not even on a not even on a cigarette. I mean, click, click, like
no,
dude,
it's just one click. It's your gun. You're empty. Your slide's locked back, and So, anyways, all right, we got all sidetracked there. Yeah, we wanted to talk about Aaron and me have one thing in common. We both lost. I don't know if you lost more, but I've definitely lost my mother and my 3 of my grandparents. And we wanted to kind of talk about loss today. And I don't know who you lost in your close family. You don't have to name them necessarily, but I mean by name or anything. But you could or title. But
just lost my dad 20 years ago. My mom 2 years ago. Grandpa, 21 years ago. Grandma 19 years ago. Just other grandma when I was like 12. Grandpa, I don't know about him, but
right.
It sucks. I mean, and and then I know a lot of people that are going through this like right now, like that are just.
Well, and the older we get, a lot of our friends are older too. I've noticed that when I got into my late 30s is when it started happening.
Oh, dude, we just celebrated a birthday. My wife's birthday was on Tuesday.
Mm-hmm. Happy birthday!
Yeah, happy birthday, wife! Shout out. And then the same day was a close high school friend's birthday too, and he passed. He had cancer, so he beat it. He got cancer and he was 29.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he beat it, went into remission.
Yeah.
And then it was one of those things like, oh, you're sick, dude. And he posted on Facebook like, oh, yeah, this is my Amazon wish list. And I was like, hit him up like, hey, what would you like? This, and that. And then I like that. So I was just waiting to get paid. And then, on, I got a message just like, it was a Facebook post from a friend, a mutual friend. It was like, man, this sucks, dude, homie. What? And it's like, wait, what the fuck?
Oh, you got the information like the guy thought you knew the information already?
Yeah, and it's like, what the fuck? And I went on there and I was like, dude, what happened? He's all, dude.
And your heart just sinks, man.
And it's like,
yeah, that's horrible.
Dude, I just talked to him like, literally like 2 days ago.
Yeah, I've lost a few friends too, and it always kicks you in the gut when it happens because you just immediately start thinking back. I don't know if this is true, but for me, family might be a little different, but with the friends, you immediately go back into like your most fond memories and kind of like, the memories that have to do with kind of his personality or her personality, whatever, right? Mm-hmm. Their personality, right? And like you just start remembering all these things. Like I remember one of my friends that passed away due to an accident. He got hit in the head. And I was remembering back about a lot of different things that I did with him. And he was a little younger than me, looked up to me a lot. And I was just going through some of those those thoughts in my head when he comes into my mind. And I was just like, wow, I haven't thought about this shit in years. Like it fucking trips you out. So how did you? So when you lost your mom's the most recent. Mm-hmm. So and I know how most guys are mama's boys. You know what I mean. So how did that go down? Like how did that affect you? Like when you. I mean, I'm assuming she was sick first, and you kind of knew. No, it was out of the blue thing.
Well, it was weird because she had a stroke like a year prior.
Okay.
But yet she didn't even know it. She went into work, and it's like, dude, what the hell is wrong with your face? And so they, they put her in the hospital. And so, I mean, literally, like every day I would go to work for like a few hours, and I would go to the hospital and spend the rest of the day till my wife got out. Yeah. Every day, and then my mom got out and everything else, and it was like, okay, cool. And then everything, she seemed to be getting better. And then right before Christmas, my brother calls me, at work, and I'm like, dude, what's wrong? I don't know if he hurt himself or he's in a car accident.
Right, you knew something was wrong.
And he's all, she's gone, and I'm all,
Oh God, I hate hearing that.
Dude, what are you talking about? And he's all, she's gone, this, that, and so, and I had literally like a room full of people in there, and they all stopped, and loud,
wailing, like crying. Yeah.
Oh no, not wailing, but it was like just a whole bunch of like dudes and they're a dude's area. I mean, it was a shop. It was an auto shop. So it's like you got people.
Okay.
Yeah. So hey, what's up, motherfucker? This and that. And so when I got up and I was like, what? And
I thought you were talking about the hospital first.
Oh no.
That's why I got lost. I was like, wait, I jumped locations in my mind.
Well, dude, we didn't even make it to the hospital because I left.
So you got a phone call when you were at an automotive shop.
Yeah. When
and that was all the guys yelling. Okay, got you.
And I was at work, and so jumped in the car, took off, raced over there. And so when I got there, the coroners got there, and then she was already, on the ground, then. And then I went in and I looked at her and I could tell, dude, she's been gone since this morning, dude. Like,
jeez.
I did the whole EMT thing and everything. I've been around bodies and everything. So, and it was like, then, dealing with that. And so,
that's what I wanted to get into next. Yeah. Because this isn't to bring up bad shit, even though it is bad shit. Yeah. This is to give viewers at home to kind of give them some tools. Yeah. So when you felt like, I'm sure one of the worst pains you've ever felt, or losses, I'm sure, it's like, how did you start? Like, was there like things that you did, or was there like a process that you kind of understood, or did you just lose your shit? Or what happened to you? Like your journey on the how you dealt with it up till current.
Well, I've grown up. I had a lot of experience since my dad was gone, and that was 20 years ago when I was 18, and so that's when I lost my shit. I mean, I was going to college. I was playing football, doing all that.
Oh, okay. Shit. So what you're saying is you kind of you kind of let a lot of shit out about your dad and all that.
I mean, I already came to the conclusion, like, you know what? We all gotta go. Mom ain't gonna be here.
Okay,
forever.
So that's cool, cause that kind of concept is kind of the way I dealt with my mother when she passed away, because she was sick for a couple years, and you could tell, as it was going, and so I think during that time, if I wasn't around her and I was helping her out, like I was basically helping her, she was in a wheelchair and everything. Like I understood that she was, I could see it, like literally every month. You would see another step down.
See, I don't think I can handle that.
Yeah. So I think it helped me deal with it more, and that's why I wanted to ask you, because you lost it more immediate, where for me it was a gradual thing, and I kind of had it was kind of real tough. Like one of the hardest things I ever had to do was right when I think it was a little too late to talk to her, because she had the Alzheimer's, and it was just like, it was bad. But like when I was talking to her, she was just like listening, but like I don't know what got through. And just that conversation I had with her, and it wasn't a conversation, it was me just speech technically, and I was just thanking her so much, like how much she's meant to me and how much she did whatever. And this is like a couple months before she like left, and it was really tough. It was one of the hardest things I ever had to do. I was crying up a storm, and she wasn't really reacting the way you think a normal person, especially a mom. And that's why I knew it wasn't really sinking in. Now, rewinding slightly, a couple months before that, she would still text, because she couldn't really talk, So she would still text. Well, she had sent me a message, and I'm pretty sure it took her all day to write it. And it was just like, I just want you to be happy. And it was like, fuck. It was like, wow. Like, that's all, like, in that state that she was in, as hard as hell for her to convey that, you know what I mean? And that meant, like, I knew that the love you thing, because I always say that, you know what I mean, to her. So it was like, I knew a lot of people would just say, I wanted to say I love you, Well, that wouldn't have meant as much to me, but just saying, like, I just want you to be happy, like, that's all I ever want for you, like, that is amazing. And that's what we all need to, that's what we all need to do. When it happened, I was at the time running a security team of guys, and the week that it happened, we finished our shifts. And me and Kenny from the podcast, we rolled out to the hospital, and we were there pretty much the whole night. And then they were going to do some more tests, and we were still waiting to find out what was going on, but it didn't look good. And so we left, and then came back home, and then within one day, she was already gone. And they basically found out she had cancer that was undetected all throughout her body on top of her stuff. So, yeah, it pretty much sucked. But then the next week, we ended up, laying my mom to rest. And we worked, and I'll tell you why. It's when you, especially in my situation, like you're working at a grocery store or something. I'm sure it's not the same, but when your life is on the line with your boys, like that's pretty fucking intense. And all my boys, fucking me and my dad wanted basically our whole security team basically carried her to her final resting spot. And all you guys that are watching, you know who you are. Much love. You guys are like the best brothers anyone could ever have. And He's still a lot of those guys are actually on the podcast or been on the podcast here and there, and a couple of them haven't, but they're all like our friends and shit. And we all worked, like I said, we all worked in security together, and we've all gone shooting together. We're all into the same kind of cool shit. So, yeah, it's pretty tough. But like for me, understanding like how I was losing her before, I think that's why I was wanting to ask you, because I could rationally deal with it. It wasn't just like a big old boom. You know what I mean? There was parts about that, but like I had to go and make sure my guys were safe, and if something happened, I would have been just as much regret, and I knew that she was already gone. Like I can't do anything about it. I can mourn, but I can't do anything about it.
I want to say I was sad when she was gone, but there was a part of me that was relieved.
I know exactly what you're saying. Yes.
And
I totally was that way.
And it was the whole thing about she was away from her husband for 20 years, almost 20 years. Honestly,
that's crazy.
I can't be away from my wife for longer than 24 hours. And then, I still say she waited till she knew that all of her kids were grown and, they were able to handle themselves, and that they raised, some smart, hardcore, people that will, stick to their guns and be good people.
Yeah, she got to see the product of her her work kind of thing.
And so, you just got to live for them. They're
Absolutely.
not here. You got to kick ass for them because they can't do it. And that's,
And they would want you
yes.
to do what's, what's
they don't
right.
They don't want you to be sad. Sure, fucking teary-eyed and shit like that. Yeah. But that's because I'm happy. Because I can tell you guys.
And you miss them.
I miss them like crazy. Yeah. Shit. There's not a day that goes by that I wish I couldn't talk to my mom or my dad. Just, hey, what's going on? Check this out, or just whatever.
I know the feeling.
But they're always with me.
Yeah.
There's not one decision in my life where it's like, fuck, dude, what would my parents do? Or, what would my parents say?
Right. You knew what they would say. Yeah. You know what I mean?
So it sucks. Because I know some people that are still, that have lost parents like 5-6 years ago, and they're still, in that mourning stage.
Right.
It's like, you know what?
You got to move on at some point.
You got to get up and you got to get over it.
Yep.
You got kids. You got a family, dude. You got to do more in this life. To honor them.
Yeah. Well, you're robbing yourself is what it is. You're robbing yourself because you're letting the grief control you. And what do we always say on this podcast? Do not let emotions control you. Mm-hmm. You can embrace love. You can embrace sadness. You can embrace all those. No one's saying don't feel.
But don't let it control you. Don't let it consume you to the point to where you can't get up and
I've
can't
seen
go out.
You know people like that, totally.
Dude,
I do too.
Honestly, my mom was like that. There'd be times where she wouldn't even get out of bed and be like, Mom, I'm going to, I learned how to cook damn good because, my mom would just be doing, Mom, I'm going to make some dinner. I would do that. You got to, but, you got to realize that there are people that are depending on you to get up and go kick ass the next day.
Yeah, and you're just robbing yourself on a total different note. So say you're a single person and you don't have any responsibilities, but your parents or your grandparents or whoever raised you, foster, it doesn't matter, whoever it is, whoever is the ones that you lost, or even your friends, they're going to want you to be happy. They're not going to want you to be moping around and not doing anything, letting that dictate how you make your decisions in life.
Fuck no.
So let that shit go. That's definitely sorry. That's definitely a fucking it's a hard one to say, but it really is. It's like keeping it simple as fuck and straightforward. It's like you got to let that shit go, and no one's saying don't be sad or
we're not saying don't be sad, but you know what? You got to fucking there's times to be sad. I still get sad about it, but you know what?
Same here.
You got to know, hey, I got.
But you're not letting it control your life.
No.
You'll be like, okay, let me just say, you'll be at night chilling, or you'll be whatever, and you'll just, or in bed even, and you'll just think of your mom or whoever, right, that you lost. Of course, all the time, bro. Or even in a conversation or whatever, all the time. But I'm not letting that control any of my decisions, or keeping me from going out and experiencing life, or right. You're not letting it do that. No. So don't let that shit happen. Mm-mm. Yeah. All right. So any other advice other than that, about loss? That's the main point there at the end, though.
Just
don't
let shit consume you and eat you up. But that goes into another point that I wanted to bring up was appreciation. So you got to appreciate the people you do have in your life. You got to sit there and really examine the people who are in your life and what they're doing for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like my wife, my wife is one of the most kick-ass people I've ever met, and she's, sure, shit gets down, dude, but she never gives up.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and she's all, you know, and you know, she always just, I mean, shit could be bad, but you know, she's still right there behind me, like, hey, we could do this.
Right, and you're appreciating her for what she's doing, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
appreciate the hell out of her.
that's the
Because I
thing.
mean, honestly, I wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for her right now.
Right.
Most
Yeah.
likely.
Yeah. Got you. All right, so appreciate everyone, and don't let your emotions dictate your decisions is what we got out of that whole thing.
Yeah.
What about, like, have you ever had a job situation? You don't have to get into details or anything. Have you ever had a job that you lost or you couldn't get that you really wanted? You don't even have to say any details about them, but that you just, like, got bummed out about, and did you ever have that experience?
Yeah, a bunch of times where it's like I really wanted to
Do whatever,
and it's like it didn't work out.
right?
You know,
I've had that same experience, and I mean, it was really hard to move on from that for me.
I mean, oh, dude,
I
mean,
was
it's-
younger too, but
Oh, dude, I mean, it sucks, dude. I've been through that a lot, but you know, you just got to think, you know, is it for you at that time,
or ever,
or ever? Maybe
Right.
you're not supposed to do that.
Right.
You know, maybe you're supposed to find your calling doing something else. I've known plenty of people that you know went to school to go be, you know, fucking engineers and shit like that, and it's like, dude, what do you do? Oh, I work as a game tester,
Right.
or I work at this. Are you
that
happy?
sounds sweet.
Yeah, but dude, they're happy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly. They find something to fall into.
And it's like, dude, I mean, you know, there's got to be something. I mean, because the whole thing is not about making all this big money, you know, to look what I got, look what I could buy and shit like that. I mean, not everybody needs that much money. You know, some people just want to have a good, you know, job to where they could actually feel like they could just go to every day and not feel like it's work. And they
Of
get
course.
paid a modest amount of money, and they go
Yeah.
home and they, you know, and they're fulfilled.
Yeah, if you can do a job that you don't hate, then that's a good thing.
Because I know people that make 6 figures a year and they're fucking miserable.
Oh yeah.
And then I know people that fucking, you know, don't even, you know, hardly do shit, hardly work,
Yeah.
or they have these,
Or
these
they have a
little
different mindset. Their other mindset is to be a slave and just work your ass off forever, and then you retire and you have like 10 years of your life left. There's that little weird mindset too, which everyone says is a capitalist mindset, but I
Yeah,
don't agree
I
with
don't
that.
think no.
Maybe some capitalists believe that, but that doesn't mean everyone.
That's more
does,
of a
yeah.
corporate mindset,
Right?
isn't
Yeah,
it? Because
it's
that's
just like
the
a
corporate
yeah,
making you
I don't.
do.
Yeah, I don't like
A
it.
corporation's coming you in.
I
and
don't
saying,
like it.
Hey, you should work this much. You should, you know, work 20
You're
years.
not
and
a
then you
team player,
Yeah.
Mr. Danger. All right. Well, yeah. So I had that same thing where I couldn't quite do certain things because of education level and stuff. I had ADD and dyslexia and stuff like that during school. Well, I still do, but I mean that's what I was having going through school. So I didn't really have the best grades, and I didn't go to college or anything like that. So I wasn't able to do a few different jobs that I kind of wanted to do. So that really bummed me out, and I still to this day can't do a lot of things because of math and spelling. So those are a big issue for me. So I'm not always able to do that or do everything. So it kind of like it hinders me. Like I can't really do everything I want. But, you know, sure, you get emotional about it sometimes, or it's usually more like angry about it.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, like it sucks, but you still got to just try to find something else to do. You know, you got to just try to find a way to make things work, right? Start robbing banks. No, I'm just kidding. The feds are all listening right now.
But swear to God, I mean, you know, but it was funny because, you know, I mean, he was in a bad place.
Well, yeah, it's one of those bullshit. I mean, everyone, dude, I know tons of friends and
Yeah.
tons of random strangers at bars that just when you start talking about the economy or whatever,
We're gonna start robbing banks.
But it's funny that like people actually have to get to the level of what the government does every single day to every single one of us.
It's only fair.
Yeah, but that's
but when you do it, but when we do it,
well,
it's
I mean, it's a
illegal.
different thing. But I mean, still, like, it's wrong for people to. I'm just making a point. Like, it's wrong for people to fucking steal, right?
Yeah.
But yet they do the same thing by gunpoint.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yep.
I had to get that in there. A little taxation is theft. I had to sneak that in there. You know what I mean?
It sure is.
Yep. All right. What about loss of like I don't know how long you've been married or any of that, like girlfriends or boyfriends or whatever like you've had. Do you have ever any real bad breakup kind of stuff that really hurt you? And if so, was there like advice that you? That's what we're trying to do, even though it's more of a conversation. We're just trying to give. This is
Never
just
really
for
a breakup.
sideshow.
It was more like she doesn't feel the same way. Oh shit.
Oh shit.
And it's like, oh, well, let me go drink some. Fucking time heals all wounds. Get the fuck on with it. There's more fish in the sea.
That's good.
And there's better fish in the sea because I seen you one time and you look broke as fuck. I'm just going to let you know that. You saved, I missed the bullet. I missed the
Well,
bullet.
and then you found something perfect for you.
Oh,
so
fuck yeah.
there you go, because you were just talking about that a minute ago. How she saved your ass. So that's good. Yeah, I've been through a couple bad ones. Yeah, like couple as in 3. So, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's just, there's nothing you can do. Like, looking back, definitely when I was younger, it was definitely more of an emotional thing. And each time the 3 that happened in the order that they happened, I would say that the first one was bad, the second one was worse, the third one was better. And then after that, whenever I had any problems like that, it's like, and whatever.
Another Quelo, she let me in the morning.
Right.
Ain't that right, Frank? Like,
So,
damn,
yeah,
dude.
I mean, it is what it is. But, see, this is also a long time ago. Well, not all of them, but the last one was only, like, maybe 2.5 years ago or so. But during that time was when I was really refining, like, how you get your emotions out of it and all that stuff. And I believe that a lot of that did help me prepare also with my mom and all that stuff. And, I lost my grandparents in that kind of that, basically the last 5 fucking years have been rough as fuck for me. So, I went from being a married man and had a pretty good life, all like, stereotypically wise, like, and that all came crashing down, and money and all that stuff just went out the window, vehicles, all that stuff. And you know what? It was the stepping stone. It was the stepping stone to actually, like, meeting everyone that you see on the podcast. So if that didn't happen, none of this would have happened. Like, none of this. I didn't meet any of the guys that I know that I hang out with. You see how I have, like, a tight-knit group of people and stuff. Like, I wouldn't have known any of those people.
Yeah.
Crazy, right? So sometimes you go like, yeah, I'm not really Mr. Mysticism and all that shit, but cause and effect, like, yeah, because that happened, I can be now in retrospect looking back at it, I'm glad that happened, because now I can see that good things happen, like in the future. And if you will it, because what happened was I sat down and I took a piece of paper and I went through what are my shortfalls, because it was definitely on both ends. The breakup was definitely because of both of us. It wasn't one or the other or nothing like that. It was because of, being young and you just don't know how to deal with shit. So you started writing out everything. And then I figured out how I'd react to her or how she'd react to me or whatever. I would go through just tons of things. And I figured my shit out, dude, for the most part. And, communication was a big thing. And I was like, oh, yeah, we both shut down at certain points in different situations. So I figured out which times I would or when she would. And then I also knew how to look for those signs. And so I learned a bunch of that stuff. And then I also learned a big valuable lesson is in most relationships, people are always looking at, like, they have the expectation of how things are going to be.
Yes.
And that's what sets up disaster, because you're thinking this, I'm not saying white picket fence thing, but, you're thinking that, or you're thinking this guy's going to be able, or gal is going to read your fucking mind. It doesn't happen that way.
They're going to bring me roses and do this, or they're going to give me
then they don't,
blowjobs, anything, and you're like, well, this isn't like I thought.
And then,
it's like, no, it's not. Dude, marriage is not what you fucking think it is, dude. It takes a lot of fucking hard work.
I got 14 years under my belt.
Dude. I got
I got
officially 2, unofficially 8, but I mean, it's not.
Well, I would probably
easy.
have like, I'd probably have about 16 or 17 of us counting how we were serious dating too. Yeah. Like, we were always together. So yeah, probably at least with that person for a good 16 to 18 years. Yeah. So it was a long fucking run. And then I had another serious girlfriend for about 2 years, and yeah, those are tough, man. You really invest a lot, and it was the closest. One of those relationships was the closest I ever got to being a dad, because she had a daughter, and you kind of like, you start thinking they're yours in a sense, right? Because you're doing everything for them, and then you lose that, and then that's a whole nother form of loss too. So like,
fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, I've known guys where it's like, I really didn't care about her, but it's the fucking kids, and it's like,
that's how I ended a lot with me in the very last one. It was like, I just missed that little girl, man. She was a cool chick, cool little kid. Yeah. I like hanging out with her. But like but then it's the same thing with loss, right? Like with the death, right? You got to still move on. Obviously, it has nothing to do with they would want you to be happy and move on. Yeah, that's not necessarily the case. But like, you can't get. I've been there. I've been sucked into that like vortex for 6 months. I mean, I was getting better, but I mean, like, you get stuck in there, and you're just gonna. I could see, even being there, I could see how you can make that last as long as you want. But you got to punch through and be like, I'm not going to be a fucking little bitch. I'm going to fucking punch through. And
because honestly, dude,
self-better. Better yourself.
Me and my wife, dude, on a few times, it's like, so what do you want to do?
Right.
And it's like, well, I'm not about to throw away this investment, these years, because honestly,
when you hit a wall, is what you're saying. Yeah.
It's like, dude, that's not what my parents did. Every time my parents,
you're here to fight for it. I guess.
Guess what, dude? They either not, my dad would just knock down the wall. There's no fucking, we're gonna climb over it. My dad'd be like, fuck that shit. He'd fucking just kick it down. Mm-hmm. And I'm the same way. If you want to be in this together, you gotta fucking sit there and you gotta talk. No matter if it's fucking tough as fuck, like, man, I really don't feel comfortable in this situation. You gotta get it out.
Yeah.
Most people think, oh, we're married, so we have, we honestly have to do this, and this has to be this way, and it's like, no, that's not how it goes.
Yeah, well, that goes into the whole thing I was saying about the expectations. Mm-hmm. That's like the number one killer. If you like track back like most of the problems in anyone's relationship, even friendships, a lot of times they'll have expectations. The other party or you will have expectations in like what you expect out of this. Mm-hmm. And if you're not being completely honest and listening and then willing to compromise on the things that aren't going to happen, it's you're gonna just keep expecting a make-believe land, and it's just like that's not gonna work. It's gonna come crashing down.
Keep on getting disappointed when when your expectation,
and then it builds up, and it builds up,
and then fucking all of a sudden, what happens? You guys have a falling out, over something stupid.
Yeah, it's like a break in the dam, and all of a sudden everything just rushes out.
And then everything comes out, and you don't know what to do, and everything just comes out, and you just fuck it. It happens,
right? Well, that's pretty much. I don't know if you have anything else to say on that one. Do you have any? The last one was friends. Do you have any of those like advice? Like once again, we don't have to get into details or names or nothing like that. But like, you ever had a friend that like you friendship that broke up or whatever? You stopped being friends with someone and whatever, or they stopped being friends with you, and you have any advice about any of that stuff?
Oh, dude, I've had a few.
I've had a few.
Yeah, and it's like, dude, we were supposed to be, close as brothers, you know what I mean? And it's like, and all of a sudden, dude, it's like, well, I wish, so-and-so was here. I wish Aaron was here. And it's like, well, fuck, he's not here, that was like 20 years ago. That, it was one friend. I had another friend, 10 years ago on something stupid. He was the couch bum, like, hey, man, if you fucking buy me a beer, I'll get you when I get my trust fund. And I'm like, dude, just keep your money, dude. I just like having you around. Just
yeah,
like
exactly.
Company.
I had a friend like that for a while that.
And then as soon as he got his money, dude, it was like
bounce.
Hey, what's up, bro? It's like, hey, what's up? And then so and so got his money, and it's like, oh, did you now? And they just look at you like, oh, okay, and never ask a motherfucker for a cent. It's like, hey, dude, you owe me like close to fucking like 3 racks, right? After all the years, you owe me like. and there's no mention of that, and it's a whole thing like just what happened to you, just
that was a note for me to edit.
I know I seen that. I was like, and
so continue.
I caught myself too. Like,
no, that was perfect because I just cut that little spot.
But then it's like one of those
Johnsons.
Johnsons. But it was one of those things where it's like, dude, I was the one that was backing you when everybody else was like, man, this motherfucker ain't about to be shit. I was like, hey, dude, he's gonna do this, he's gonna do that. And sure enough, dude. It's like, dude, you just proved all these motherfuckers right, and I look like a fucking dumbass. Nah, I'm cool.
Yeah, but you also got a little out of it, even though it does suck in the end. You still got your good times hanging out with the guy that you... The part that you liked out of it, you got that. But, like, dude, it does suck,
always,
man.
There's always good times in friendships that sour and die and all that shit. But you know what? I've also fucking had friends where it ended bad and then seen them again, and it's like, hey, dude, sorry about that, about that.
Reconciled later on.
And then you're good.
Right.
Man, I was in a bad place, and it's like, dude, we were all in bad places then. We fucking, we grew up, we worked out of it, we're grown, now we could chill, right? Yeah, we could chill. Cool, let's go get a beer.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that.
And that's how it should,
yeah, people grow up too. You know what I mean? Like, you get older, you learn a little bit more. Yeah, that's the main
thing. It's like, people just got to realize, like, everything's not the way that you think it is in your head.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly what we were saying. The expectations and then playing things out in your head. Dude, I've ran into so many friends that are girls and guys that just, they have their own, like, even if they're talking about, like, other relationships in their life, and you're just hearing that stuff, and you're just like, you're projecting, like, you're projecting on people, you're having your expectations, and it's like, did you ever even talk to this person about this stuff? Oh, yeah, well, I told him this. I'm like, yeah, but that's just kind of being a bitch or an asshole. Like, You should probably try to like talk like without emotion involved.
You mentioning it for a brief second isn't really talking.
Right?
About it.
Yeah.
It's like yeah, whatever.
Yeah. Oh, that's a big problem too. Is that like if you're in a here's a good advice. If you're in a relationship and you say something that you don't like and you're trying to be out with it, right? Like whatever it is. Just because you said it one fucking time doesn't mean the other person. Now, some people can retain that and learn that. However, there's a lot of times where you might have to say it once, twice, maybe 5 times, or at least have a real conversation. Because a lot of times, people will say something when they're in a pissed off mode, and they're just like, "Well, you never blah 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 blah," or "You don't da 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 da," or "You always act da 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 da," right? So they'll say something like that, and then they expect you to retain that. When you're in that kind of mode, you're already in defense. How are you going to retain that? You're just trying to like protect your own whatever you got to say.
Yeah.
So like you got to be like take your emotions out of shit.
And then you're also try're to think of something to say too at the same time.
Yeah.
So you're trying.
Well, you're not. Yeah. It's like when you get in a major argument, and it's like you're not even retaining everything they're saying. You're staying on a few points and you're yelling at them about that point. I mean, that's how I used to be back in the day.
Yeah, that's
way back in the day.
But what about this? No.
Yeah.
What about that?
I've learned that doesn't work. And no one's perfect. I still lose my shit here and there. You've seen the Johnny Doe rants on the Grim 86. There's a few times where I lose my shit a little bit. But I never stay like, I'm not like, 2 seconds later, I'm like, all right, cool.
All right, cool. I mean, you're not there the rest of the podcast. And you go upstairs and it's like, I'm angry. Wake up the next day, I'm still mad.
So I've had that in the past. I had it where I would actually wake up angry still. I haven't had that in like, not never. I haven't had that happen in a long time. But when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah. When you're a kid, dude, you wake up and you're just like,
yeah.
Like, what's wrong with you? I'm still fucking. Dude, you could even forget about it and still wake up
and
all
when I say
off.
Kid, even up until my 20s and stuff, like early 20s.
Yeah, you still have that, sometimes you still have that, that child mentality still. And, you got to get over that hump. And it's like, man, I'm 30.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the numbers force you into it sometimes. Although I know some people that are,
Never
my age
up.
that are just, And there's 2 different ways of growing up. There's the being responsible and all that, or there's the way of like conforming to society, because that's a false sense of.
Yeah.
That's a false sense of growing up.
Yeah.
So there is 2 ways to.
I go to work. I pay my taxes. I am a law-abiding citizen.
Oh God.
It's like,
fucking.
I hate you.
I call them conformist.
Yes. That's all you're doing. You're just trying to make other people happy. Well, you don't want me to do this, then okay, I won't do this. How many smokers were shamed out of smoking? Me, I quit smoking for a medical surgery. They said, hey, if you don't quit smoking, you're going to be paralyzed. There's a good chance you can get an infection. I was like, I don't need these anyway.
Yeah, right.
And then now it's like cigarettes are $10 a fucking pop, and it's like, dude, are you serious?
Yeah. Thank you, statism.
Yeah. Cigarettes are $10, dude. It's like, I wanted to quit anyway, but.
Oh, that was funny. I think we should end on that note. That was a great way to end. All right, guys, this is episode 15 of The Sideshow, and we'll see you guys next time.
Later.
Sure.